This is an overview of automatic console shifters found in 64 to 66 Dodge Plymouth cars and the dash-mounted shifter found in Dodge pickups between 65 and 66 and some A100 configurations. So this is a 64 Dodge pickup that I purchased about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, and a prior owner converted it from a clutched 3-speed manual on the column to a 440 automatic, and in doing so he installed a 64 Polara console in this truck. And so I'm new to this era of cars and didn't know too much information about the specifics of how all this worked, and I wanted to kind of cover that in this video. There's not much out there. If you go to Forward Look, is a community for 63 and older Chrysler cars, and on Allpar is also a forum community that has some information on this, but not any YouTube videos that I was able to find. So if this era, 64 and earlier, I think up until maybe early 65, there was a mid-year transition in 65 pickups, but in 64, if this was an automatic, let's say a 318 poly automatic, it would have had a 727 but a push button automatic configuration, and would have had a dash pod right here with the push buttons for the changing the gears. And in push button automatics, you would select neutral and then pull your parking brake manually. That's the original parking brake on this truck. In 64, 65, and early 66, Dodge went to moving towards federal regulations of providing for a positive park selection. And this is before these shifter mechanisms would have had a button, like most American cars, starting at 67 to move out of park. So these shifters in a 64 to 66, and let me show you this over here, used a detent or gated pattern here to positively lock the shifter into park. So this is park's position, and you'll see right there it's got a tab that you have to move the shifter to the left, and then around that tab to move it into park. And this is out of B-body. And also, if I'm just looking at features of this shifter mechanism, it had an integrated reverse light switch that when the shifter moved, it hit that little bump right there in this location, which would activate the switch and turn on your reverse lights as you're moving in reverse. The other interesting feature about these had automatic parking brake actuation, and so one of these tabs held the parking brake and the other tab held the gear selector cable. So both cables, and that was nice. You move into park, your parking brake was activated, and move it out of park, your parking brake was deactivated. So anyways, also in these consoles, it also had an integrated neutral safety switch that relied on the location of the shifter. I assumed, because this console was out of a 64 Polara, that it would have used a shifter like this. But instead, you'll notice that this shifter is angled so that it moves the knob closer to the driver. These pickups of this era are fairly wide compared to other pickups of this era, and so this simple modification was made just to make it easier for the driver to reach the shift handle. So this is the style of shifter mechanism that's in this console right now. And when I first bought this truck, I was a little frustrated in that it's very easy to move into the reverse and other positions without a whole lot of feel. It's just very ambiguous and easy to overshoot reverse when you're moving from park to reverse, and then you go to neutral and then have to go back to reverse. I always thought it was due to the shifter mechanism being worn out, but what it turns out is that the 65, 66 Dodge pickups that use this type of shifter mechanism did not have a gate in the shifter mechanism or any detents to prevent you from doing that. It's completely flat from top to bottom. This is shifter mechanism is in park position, and you can see there's really no gate built into the shifter assembly. The gate was provided by the bezel that would have gone on the dash. So the nice thing there, so notice like first, second drive or third, fairly easy to go into neutral from that location, but if you're bang shifting and you apply pressure to the right of the shifter, it'll prevent you from going into reverse as well. So after I found out that these shifter mechanisms are indeed different in this way, along with the curvature of the shifter arm, my plan is to weld in tabs essentially to positively locate the park location and the reverse location, similar to what they did in the other types of shifters. I have an example of an A-body shifter that someone modified, and they did essentially that. They welded in additional material to create a reverse lockout on this shifter mechanism, which is kind of cool. And then my other modification that I'd like to do here is integrate the reverse light switch and weld in just a bump so that it actuates the switch as the shifter is moving. This also uses a cable, but there's no automatic parking actuation. So that's pretty much the differences between these shifters. If you have any comments or questions that you want to ask about these, or maybe even have links that you can add to the comments, please do so. There's not a whole lot of information on these that I found after many, many months of looking around, and any information that you can point to, that would be fantastic. Thanks so much.